Alright, this bike here, this is Frank. We call him kind of the Frankenstein because he's been a mismatched collection of parts throughout the years. This was actually my first major big twin Harley Davidson, and it was a 57 panhead back in the day. What had happened is I have a 58 XLCH Ironhead Sportster, and I would ride it to school every day. And this was kind of before the whole chopper class even started. And kids would come around because I had drag pipes. They'd want to hear the pipes rap and do a burnout or do a wheelie. And so I started asking these kids, why don't you in my class? You should take this. We'll tear this bike down this winter and work on it, and I'll teach you some things. And kids are all excited. And so sure enough, they took the class, worked on that old Ironhead, tore it down, had them paint it. We did some things, put it back together. And by the end of the year, I had so many kids showing up. I said, well, you guys sign up again next year, I'll make sure I buy another bike project. So lo and behold, I did some sniffing around, and I found a 57 panhead Baas case in Faribault, which is basically what you see here. Now it's got a knuckle in it, but at the time it had a 57 pan. It had a wide glide front end on it. I put some low bars on it. But everything else, the pipes have changed since I put the motor in. But otherwise, most of this is the way it was when I first started building it. It's a Santee frame, a little bit of a stretch to it, but stock rake for a stock length front end. The seat was kind of a neat story because when I was doing this bike with my students in class, I started to send out emails to people and say, hey, I'm doing a panhead with my students. Anybody interested in helping out? And this is from Paul Cox, Indian Larry's partner at Gasoline Alley, back before Larry died, rest his soul. But Paul said, yeah, I'm interested in helping out. What are you guys doing? So I showed him pictures. I made the seat pan. I sent him the seat pan out, and he actually hand tooled this, and that's his signature. All of Paul's seats have that little logo stamped into them. And at the time when I inquired about this, he was a year and a half backed up, and the seats were $1,600 to start. So when I first heard that, I was kind of like, oh, well, I guess we're not going to get one of those. But he ended up, we talked about how I was doing sign work, and I said, well, we can make you some signs for your shop. So he ended up trading me, did the seat for free, and then we made him some signs for the shop. And actually the last sign we did for him, which was unfortunate, but we did the big Indian Larry tribute sign after he had died for his tribute party there. But we were fortunate to get Paul and Larry on board. Larry, that's why we run a lot of the remote oil filters. Larry hooked us up with the first one for that, and kind of keep them on there as a tribute to him. The fender itself was just a flat trailer fender. I had to narrow a little bit to fit. Some of my creations here, I do some brass metal style steel cutouts. I use that as kind of my little mini sissy bar. That way when my wife rides in the back, she doesn't fall off. The fender struts I made, the spiderweb struts on my table here. Ran the hydraulic brakes for a little better stopping power since I wasn't running a front brake on this. One of my side mount license plate brackets with the old Model A stoplight on there. Again, same thing here is a slop top jockey shifter, no ratchet lid. And again, this one is a suicide, so it's all or nothing. And I had trouble because I'm running heavy duty springs in this and running real tight. I kept breaking chains. So what I did is I bought a dog leash, cut down the dog leash and clipped it on and welded it back, so now it should never break again. This is my meat grinder. This is actually a stock Harley double row primary chain. And these are normally enclosed, and I'm running it open. The life expectancy on these, it doesn't last too long until I got to replace them because they're not being lubricated properly. But I think it looks pretty badass, and with the bike being kind of a dirty, grimy, old, evil kind of Frankenstein, it fits it pretty well. Pegs I made myself, machined them in here. Just took brass, turned it down, did a little knurling. And as you can see, what I did is I made these pegs extra long, and they don't retract. So what I can do, if I'm on the side of the road, I need to work on the bike, I can lean it over like it's leaning right now, and I can get down here and I can work on the bike, and I can do what I got to do to get myself back on the road. So that was kind of a neat feature I've incorporated into it. The front end on here is a real unique front end. I'm real happy to have this on. This is from Spartan Frameworks, George Coons out of Phoenix, Arizona. He donated this one actually to one of our class builds a couple years back. We did a riveted bike with all kinds of riveted panels on and whatnot. And the person who bought the bike from us didn't want to run this front end because they didn't feel safe riding with a Springer, and they wanted to put a front brake on it, and this wasn't set up for a front brake. So I basically said, well, you know, I'm a dealer for a lot of the companies. I'll trade you. I'll take this front end and I'll get you what you want, you know. And so we did a little swap, and I bought all the parts for his bike to get him the front end he wanted. And I took this one and put it on here, and it fit real good. It's a nice heavy duty, real unique with the big rivets and whatnot. You'll never see another one like it. It's kind of my pride and joy on this one. Is it's a front end I want to keep forever. The motor on this now, I said, used to be a 57 pan. Now this is a 1939 knucklehead motor. And how that came about last winter, a friend of mine in Milwaukee that had this motor called me up, and he was trying to sell it, and he wanted quite a bit of money for it. You know, it was already rebuilt, stroke, clean title, everything like that. So it was a pretty valuable motor, and he wanted pretty good money for it, but nobody was buying with the economy tightening up. And finally he gave me a call and just said, hey, you know, I'd hate to see this thing go on eBay and end up in Japan or somewhere else. He says, I'll give you a decent deal on it if you want it. And so I couldn't pass it up, so I basically sold my 57 pan motor with the title, bought this 39 motor with the title, and did the swap. So now I got, with this one and my other one, I'll have 3 knuckleheads in my collection, which is pretty exciting for me because knuckles were always what I always dreamed about having. Never thought I'd get one. And when I built Elvis, I thought this is my only chance at a knuckle. You know, this is it. And then this came along, which, you know, I had to sell some stuff to get it, but still I was able to work it out. And then I have another one now that it's actually at Lee's right now. The motor's getting rebuilt, and that one you'll see at the Donnie Smith show this March. It's a real old retro 70s kind of chopper. A lot of neat stuff on it. The exhaust on this bike I made myself. I bought this 2-in-1 collector from V-Twin Cycles. And then I have a bunch of pipe odds and ends, and I just cut and welded and fabricated my exhaust to fit into it and make the 2-in-1 work with the nice shotgun. It's got a real nice throaty sound with the big pipe coming out the back. The gas tank was originally donated by Sucker Punch Sally's. The first year we did our class bikes, when this was this 57 pan we finished, and then the kids also finished the bike with all donated parts. And this tank was going to go on the bike the kids were building. Well, then they ended up building their own tank from scratch and wanted to run that instead. So I threw this one on this bike, and this again was painted and striped by Don Herring of Herring's Customs, who does great work. So this tank's been through a lot of miles, a lot of years, a lot of abuse, and it's held up pretty cool. And the air cleaner on this is a Goodson, Dennis Goodson out of Colorado. Hand cast those air cleaners. There's a lot of people repopping them nowadays, made in Japan kind of style, and I'm a real firm believer, being that I'm a businessman too, and I believe in my country that, you know, if you're only going to save, you know, maybe $100 buying a Japanese knockoff, I'd rather put the $100 extra in to support a made in America USA company. And more importantly, the reason that he started these first, and these guys are ripping him off and selling them cheaper, it's like I don't want to give them any business, you know, because that's what they do. They steal hard-working people's designs, repop them, and sell them cheaper, and undercut the guy who started out doing this to pay his bills and feed his family, you know. And so, if I was going to tell anybody watching this or people down the road to stay in American-made parts if you can. I mean, you may save a little money buying some cheap knockoff, but in the long run, you know, for your soul and for your bike, it's just not worth it to me. Oh yeah, and then the fender, again, I got my signature on there, the door pull. And I actually I have this set up so that I can drill out the rivets real quick and then put a suction cup seat on here for my wife when she wants to ride with me. Then I put some pegs on it'll fold down for her. The handlebars, these are just some standard apes, but I got really cool grips on here from a good friend, Buck Burgess of Goblin Millworks, and he made these grips for me and put this mirror on, kind of a downward mirror, which works real good with the ape hangers. It fits the look of the bike real well. The headlight's an old Cadillac headlight. I got off of eBay, just was doing a search and found a neat old brass Cadillac headlight, and I just modified it with a halogen light bulb and made my own bracket to mount on here. Made my own brass pieces for it. Spacers there. My buddy Chad Pearson made the nuts for the ends. And let's see what else on here. Got my good luck girl here. She's always led the way. This has been on it since the day I built the bike back in 2003, 2004. And luckily, there's never been in a wreck yet, and she's kept me safe.